Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. The aces of the New Republic have one final chance to defeat the darkness of Shadow Wing in Victory's Price by Alexander Freed, the thrilling conclusion to the Star Wars Alphabet Squadron trilogy. Available now wherever audiobooks are sold.
This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is Ashley Eckstein, Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, show number 396. This is your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, and rhetoric. I'm your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation coffee out of my Star Wars Celebration 2019 coffee mug, ready to talk some Star Wars with each and every one of you. On today's show, Clayton Sandell returns as we take a look at the top 5 ways that Star Wars inspires hope. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
Joining us today on Coffee with Kenobi is a returning guest and a fan favorite, of course. You know him, you love him. Our good buddy, Clayton Sandell. Clayton, welcome back to Coffee with Kenobi.
Fan favorite. That's high praise there.
Yes. Well, your check cleared. So,
yeah. Well, awesome. I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I am doing great, my friend. I'm excited to have you on. You are the perfect guest for this because we're going to talk about the top 5 ways that Star Wars gives us hope. Let's be honest, we need a little bit of hope, especially these days. You know, we want this show to be an escape. We want to make you think. We want to make you laugh. We want to talk some Star Wars. And I feel like Star Wars, in the title of the original, of course, it didn't happen until 1981, was A New Hope. Star Wars gives us hope. So we've compiled a list of 5 different ways it does that. I've got movies. I've got personal anecdotes. I've got stuff from different experiences with Star Wars that I've had, but there are a lot of ways that Star Wars gives hope. And how did you enjoy coming up with this list, Clayton?
Of course. I mean, I kind of took the approach of my 5 favorite moments from the films and one from animated series that sort of deal with the topic of hope, because it is really it really is the backbone of what Star Wars is about, I think, especially the original trilogy. And then when you look at like the prequel trilogy, that was all kind of about, losing hope. All hope was lost at the end of the prequel trilogy. And then of course there was a new hope. We got it all back in Star Wars. So, yeah, it's a recurring theme. It's I can't think of a better theme because you're right. In our everyday lives, dealing with the realities of whatever we're dealing with, we all have to have hope. And I think this series, Star Wars in general, just does it better than almost anything.
I agree, and well said. The reason I even ask you that is because being a teacher. One of the things I like to do to make students think is I will keep my expectations. Sometimes I will keep them a little bit vague. And just so because I don't want to influence the conversation either way. And I never have to worry about that with a pro like you, of course, but I'm just looking forward to the feedback. And of course, you and I are good friends anyway. So we're going to have some fun. This is basically what you're going to hear is what Clayton and I would be saying if we were sitting in a coffee house or at Oga's Cantina anyway, if we could actually hear each other.
There you go. One day we will be back at Oga's. One day.
That's right.
Be it Batu West or Batu East. I don't know yet, but one of these days we'll get there. We will get there.
I love it. Well, why don't you go ahead and I actually did. I wrote them all down and I looked at them. I thought, well, you know what? I kind of wrote these in order. So I actually do have something of a hierarchy to them.
Excellent. All right. Cool.
All right. Well, why don't you give us your first one?
One line that stuck out with me, or one moment that stuck out with me, that sort of for me epitomizes what Star Wars is about, is not only the theme of hope, but also the thing that I've always loved about it is that it's kind of it's about friends coming to help each other, coming to the rescue when somebody's in need. You're there, no matter what it is. And this line stuck out to me from The Rise of Skywalker when Lando is talking to Poe, and he says, how did you guys, they're having this conversation about how they did it, how they won, and he goes, Lando goes, we had each other. That's how we won. And that we had each other really stuck out for me, because through all of the films, there has always been this sense that you weren't going to make it through without the help of your friends. So that is my number 5.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. I'm glad. It's good to hear some love for The Rise of Skywalker, because I've been very honest about how that one certainly did not tip the scales for me. But there are some good moments, and that's a great moment. That's a great moment, especially coming from someone like Lando.
There you go. Yeah, liked it.
Yeah. So, well, my first one is from the original trilogy, and I just wrote down Luke and Hope. So, what I mean by that, yes, we like to point to the twin sons moment that with that beautiful sweeping music, John Williams score. Luke is on that horizon looking out into dreaming of a different life for himself, but he's not sure what that means. He just knows that he's supposed to do something different. And we're all in that place in one way or another in our lives. I certainly see this all the time with my high school seniors, helping our oldest and even our middle child, plan the next phase of their lives. Or even when I made the transition from working in insurance to becoming an educator. We all have those moments where we know that there's something out there for us, and it gives us hope. It certainly ties into Joseph Campbell's hero's journey and that call to adventure, and where we find ourselves, on the level of what we want to do with our lives. And I think it's very inspiring to see that you can find a local farm boy who dreams of a brighter tomorrow and who never gives up on his dreams. And then things happen for him because he keeps saying yes. He keeps saying yes to the right questions. He opens himself up to possibilities, and he is ready to take the chips wherever they may. And some of that is, in a sense, a naivete because he's younger, but some of that is also something that is inside of him. I feel like we all have those things inside of us. It's very, very inspiring. And I'm especially fired up about this one because we're teaching A New Hope this week and next week in mythology. And these topics keep coming up. So it's just a beautiful metaphor for what Star Wars opens up to you, what your life can open up to you if you look to the horizon. And don't just look and dream, but you actually do something about it by saying yes.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I think that Luke, I think, if any character epitomizes sort of the concept of hope, I think it would be him, at least in the original trilogy. And I like my next one, sort of hitting off of that theme, and this is where I veer off a little bit and go into the animated series. But there's an Ahsoka Tano quote where she says, "This is a new day, a new beginning," and that's obviously one that I have thought about a lot lately, having left ABC recently and now sort of setting off on this new adventure that I don't know what is coming, but every single day is a new day and ample chance for a new beginning, which in and of itself gives a lot of hope for the future. It's sort of a forward-looking, what's coming around the corner, what's coming tomorrow versus looking back. It's I find that sort of a hopeful and inspiring quote from good old Ahsoka Tano. That's a great one.
Yeah, and you hit it on the head there. I mean, Ahsoka's a great one too because she finds hope. She, of all the characters in Star Wars, she is got to be in the top 2 or 3 of finding hope and optimism in complete darkness.
Right.
We saw that especially at the end of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, exactly. And it's nice also kind of just to see her coming back in The Mandalorian, and then of course we're going to get more of her story in her own upcoming show. So I think we're going to get there's going to be a lot of uplifting threads in her story that we haven't seen yet, because she is a character that is kind of seen her ups and downs, the good days and the bad. So hopefully we'll get more in the new show.
I can honestly say that she's one of my favorite characters in all of fiction, period.
Yeah.
It's great.
Agree.
All right, my second one is one of the themes that was one of the things that George worked on when he created the original film. Growing up, in the 70s, post-Vietnam and Death Wish and, different things that were going on in the world. There's a lot of ambiguity. There's a lot of, not clear-cut good. And that became challenging. He wanted to create, his own original mythology, the great American mythology, in my opinion. I'm sure yours as well. But one of the things that Star Wars does so well is good overcomes evil, especially great evil. Look at what happens in The Rise of Skywalker. Certainly A New Hope is easy. Vader's all in black. Leia's all in white. Luke is wearing white, essentially, even though he's got some tan pants, but there's still some options. They're very, very clear.
The lighter end of the spectrum.
Sure. Yes. Yep. It's very, very clear who is good and who is bad. And ultimately, no matter how challenging the dark times are, good triumphs. And I think that's such a great message. I needed that optimism when I was a kid. I like that kind of optimism now. That's one of the things I try to emphasize with Mason when we're watching these films, or we're watching Rebels or Clone Wars or the Avengers or whatever the case may be. Insert great piece of fiction here. But I want my children to believe that good can overcome. It's never going to be easy. If you're working out, if it's easy, you're not working hard enough, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It builds muscle. It builds that adversity, builds strength and character, so you can also ultimately overcome evil. And sometimes that evil, or the thing that challenges you, is not necessarily evil, but sometimes you can be your own worst enemy. Once you learn to get out of your own way and start doing what you need to do to take care of yourself, then you can overcome that as well. And I feel really didactic, but I've been talking about this so much with my students, and it's just the conversations we're having are just very inspiring to me.
Well, and it also goes to, like, even when things are not going your way, what it does, I think, is it gives you something to keep striving for, even if bad things keep happening, and you don't feel like you're ever getting a W. It's sort of infuses you with this resilience to keep going yes. for that ideal, to have hope again that good is going to eventually triumph over evil, and you just got to stick with it.
That's right. Resilience builds that internal psychological armor that you need.
Yep, for sure.
And I feel like Star Wars is a great example of that. All right, what's your next one?
So I have, I feel like I'm sort of going backwards in the movies here, but there were two quotes that I liked a lot from The Last Jedi, and the first one comes from Admiral Holdo, and it again sort of gets to that feeling of, we are in a bad position. Things are not going our way. And she says, we are the last of the resistance, but we are not alone. And she says, we're in every corner of the galaxy, the downtrodden and the oppressed know our symbol, and they put their hope in it. I love that line, because it repeats, and she goes on to sort of repeat Poe's line, which is the other one about we are the spark. Mm-hmm. That will light the fire that will burn the First Order down. And I love both of those lines and both of those thoughts, just because they happen at the worst time for the good guys. And when all hope is nearly lost, both of those moments, both of those quotes to me just come off as so inspiring, and remembering that you may be in this position, but somewhere out there is somebody that is going to help you. And I think that applies to so many aspects of our everyday real life lives. It was just those two moments just really, really struck a chord with me.
Yeah, here. Anything from The Last Jedi is going to strike a chord anyway because it's just so well done.
Here.
Yes. My next one is another theme that we see a lot in Star Wars. And what gives me hope is seeing people from different backgrounds working together to achieve common goals and for the common good. You know, Han and Leia and Luke all come from very, very different places, very, very different backgrounds. You know, Poe, Finn, and Rey, they come together from different backgrounds, different genders, different races, and they achieve good because they work together. They trust each other. There is no inherent bias. There's just, you know, you have a good heart. I have a good heart. We want the same stuff. We have different ways of doing that. We have different ways of achieving that. But at the end of the day, we have more in common than we do differently. And that, to me, that's very inspiring. That's very hope-filled for me. Exactly what, you know, we teach our children, exactly what I talk about with our students. And one of the things that I love about English is that I feel like it's, when I'm teaching English, when I'm teaching literature, I feel like it's one of the few disciplines where you're asking people to literally walk in other people's shoes. And it's just a very, very unique discipline to be able to do that. And Star Wars is a great way to show how there's so much hope in finding that difference in other people and learning from each other. And I think that's very inspiring.
Very inspiring, and especially right now when we are so fractured politically. And, you know, I think we all have our beliefs, and we all have our values and things that we stick to, and that's great. That's fine. But it also sort of serves as a reminder that, you know what, there are people out there with different views who aren't necessarily bad people. And could we all sort of benefit from at least listening to the other guys a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's tell you, let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, Clayton and I will give the last two things that shows how Star Wars provides hope. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books but can't find the time? Try listening to them on audio, featuring sound effects, top-notch narrators, and music directly from the movies. Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. The Aces of the New Republic have one final chance to defeat the darkness of Shadowwing in Victory's Price by Alexander Freed, the thrilling conclusion to the Star Wars Alphabet Squadron trilogy. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/coffeewithkenobi to listen to clips and find your next listen, or buy now wherever books and audiobooks are sold. And as a special treat for listeners of Coffee with Kenobi, here is an extended clip from the audiobook of the all-new Victory's Price. Here we go.
I was 18 kilometers above sea level when they caught me, she said. The droid measured her heart rate from across the room, 62 beats per minute, 7 above her baseline, and stored her voice print for post-session analysis. It performed a cursory optical scan and noted the scrapes on her lips and forehead, the sling supporting her right arm. She had begun to regain muscle mass, though she remained, the droid permitted itself a poetic flourish, frail.
You remember the precise altitude?
The droid asked. For this interaction, it had chosen a masculine voice, bass and hollow. The sound projected from a speaker on the underside of its spherical black chassis. I have an extremely good memory. The droid oriented the red lens of its photoreceptor, as if to stare.
So do I.
The woman met its gaze. The droid readjusted the lens. This is the story she told. 18 kilometers above the surface of the planet Necronus, Irica Quell fled for her life. The silt storm raged outside her starfighter, blue and yellow mud roiling against the faceted viewport. A burst of wind lifted the ship's portside wing, nearly sending her into a spin. She adjusted her repulsors with her gloved left hand, while the right urged a rattling lever into position. The ship leveled out, and the comforting howl of its twin ion engines rose to a screech as 6 million stony granules entered the exhaust. Quell winced as she bounced in her harness, listening to her vessel's agony. Emerald light shot past the viewport, incinerating ribbons of airborne mud. She increased her thrust and plunged deeper into the storm, ignoring the engine's scream. Her scanner showed 3 marks rapidly closing from behind, 2 fewer than she'd hoped for. She moved a hand to the comm, recalibrated her frequency, and called out 2 names.
Tonus? Barath?
When no one answered, she recalibrated again and tried.
This is TIE pilot Erica Quell to Necronus ground control.
But Tonus and Barath were surely dead, and the locals were jammed, out of range, or ardently inclined to ignore her. Another volley of emerald particle bolts sizzled past her ship. Quell maintained her vector. She was a fine defensive pilot, but only the storm could keep her alive now. She had to trust the wind and the blinding mud to throw off her enemy's aim. Her comm sounded at last.
Lieutenant Quell.
She leaned forward, straining at her harness, trying to peer through the storm as her teeth chattered and her hips knocked against her seat. A ribbon of blue silt streaked by, and she glimpsed, beyond it, a flash of white light, lightning ahead and 20 degrees to port.
Lieutenant Quell, please acknowledge.
She considered her options. She could head toward the lightning, toward the storm's center where the winds would be strongest. There she could try to locate an updraft, reduce her thrust, overcharge her repulsors, and let the draft and the repulsor's anti-gravity toss her ship high while her pursuers passed below. If she didn't black out, if she didn't become disoriented, she could dip back down and re-engage her enemy from behind, eliminating 1, maybe 2 before they realized where she'd gone.
You are hereby ordered to reduce speed, eject, and await pickup, detention, and court-martial.
She couldn't imagine that the man on the other end of the comm would fall for such a maneuver. More likely she'd be shot down while she spun helplessly through the sky. Of course, she'd also be shot if she ejected. Major Soren Keyes was a good man, an admirable man, but she knew there would be no court-martial. She changed course toward the lightning and pitched her ship incrementally downward. Toward the ground, she reminded herself. Ground, like atmosphere and gravity, was a challenge she normally flew without. Another flash of emerald suggested her foes were getting closer, likely attempting to catch her in their crossfire. She let the wind guide her. She couldn't outfly Major Keyes, but she was at least as good as his squadron mates. She'd flown with Shauna, seen Tong's flight stats, and Quell deserved her fate if she couldn't match them both. She dived through a ribbon of yellow silt that left her momentarily blind, then reduced her repulsor output until the TIE fighter's aerodynamics took over and sent it veering at a sharp angle. Quell might find atmospheric flight challenging, but her opponents would find an enemy jerked about by gravity positively confounding. The next volley of particle blasts was just a glimmer in her peripheral vision. They would be back on her soon. A thunderclap loud enough to resonate in her bones reassured her she was near the storm's center. She wondered, startled by the thought, if she should say something to the Major before the end, make some last plea or acknowledgement of their years together, then blotted the idea from her mind. She'd made her decision. She looked through her streaked cockpit at the swirling vortex of colors. She accelerated as hard as the TIE would allow, checked her instruments through the pain in her skull and the glimmering spots in front of her eyes, counted to 5, then tilted her fighter an additional 50 degrees toward the ground. After that, 2 events occurred nearly simultaneously. Somehow she was aware of them both. As Quell's fighter rushed toward the surface of Necronus, her 3 pursuers, already accelerating to match Quell's speed, flew directly toward the storm center. 2 of the enemy TIEs, according to her scanner, attempted to break away. They were caught by the gale, and as they decelerated, swept into each other. Both were immediately destroyed in the collision. The 3rd pilot attempted to navigate the gauntlet of lightning and silt. He fared better, but his starfighter wasn't equal to his skill. Something went wrong. Quell guessed that silt particles had crept into seams in the TIE's armor, or that a lightning strike had shorted the fighter's systems. And Major Soren Keyes, too, disappeared from her scanner. The ace of the 204th Imperial Fighter Wing was dead. At the same time her pursuers met their end, Quell attempted to break out of her dive. She saw nothing of the world outside her cockpit, nothing beyond her instruments, and her body felt leaden as she operated the tie's controls. She'd managed to level out the ship when she heard a deafening crash and felt her seat heave beneath her. She realized half a second later that the bottom of her starboard wing had struck the mire of Necronis' surface and was dragging through the silt. Half a second after that, she lost total control of her vessel and made the mistake of reaching for the ejector switch with her right hand. The TIE fighter halted abruptly, and she was thrown at the now cracked viewport. The safety harness caught her extended right arm and snapped her brittle bones as the straps cut into her body. Her face smashed against the inside of her flight helmet. Agony and nausea followed. She heard nothing but an unidentifiable dull roar. She blacked out and woke almost immediately, swiftly enough to savor the still fresh pain.
Once you are ready to plan that vacation, whether it's to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or anywhere you want to go on the planet, be sure to check out MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi. Their signature service and expert advice will help clients maximize their vacation time and dollar. I use them for my personal travel when it's safe to do so. I use them for Coffee with Kenobi. And as we get closer and closer to hopefully another celebration in 2022, you can be sure that I will be talking to Becky Menken and the team at MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. There are certainly a number of excellent reasons to use MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. For one thing, their service is completely free to you. They are there to help you, to guide you, to help you with tips on getting into the parks. Where should I go as far as what day I'm going to be there? What rides are the smartest ones to check out first? What are some of the best dining opportunities, whether you're traveling alone, whether you're traveling with that someone special, whether you're traveling with your family or just with a bunch of your friends? They will take care of you. They are an amazing, amazing service. I cannot recommend them enough. Again, I use them for both my personal travel as well as for everything we do at Coffee with Kenobi. And I will certainly be using them for future trips to Galaxy's Edge, the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser one day, and so many more exciting opportunities. So whether you're going to go to Disney World, whether you're going to go to somewhere else on the planet, and hopefully someday Disneyland when that opens, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, the Coffee with Kenobi travel partner, is your one-stop shop. If you have any questions, be sure to ask me or go to our travel affiliate link, which can be found on our webpage, in the show notes, or all over social media. Thank you so much. You will have the best time, and please let us know about your great experiences with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. We are back talking about the top 5 ways that Star Wars inspires hope in us, and Clayton, I believe you are up next.
So this one, I feel sort of applies to my own life and the sort of rat race and the situations we find ourselves in. I am drawing on some inspiration from Han Solo. Never tell me the odds. This is a guy who doesn't want to know, what the chances are that things are going to have a positive outcome. He's just hoping it's going to turn out okay. And I feel like we all sort of go into situations every day where we're not quite sure if it's going to work out or not, but you kind of have hope and faith that whatever you're going to try is going to work. And I feel like this sort of this analog to my own daily life is epitomized in Han Solo. I don't want to know the odds. I'm just going to have hope that everything's going to work out just fine.
I love it. And does this make me Chewbacca?
It might. You do.
I'm Harry.
You do have the beard, which you can grow a beard much better than I can. So that may be apt.
Happy to be your co-pilot anytime, pal. It's a great one. I love that. Yeah, I think it's important to bring up Han too, because obviously he's not the Luke Skywalker, who's arguably the main hero of the original, not only the original trilogy but the original 9 films. But yeah, I think that's great. And don't tell me about all the things that C-3PO is like the poster boy for anxiety.
Right, exactly.
And Han doesn't want to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. No, and it's very practical. It's sort of right in the moment. Obi-Wan is thinking about, restoring balance to the galaxy. Like he's very big picture. It's a 30,000-foot view. Han is just hoping to get out of whatever situation he's in
That's
alive.
Right. I don't want this Rodian to blast me.
Exactly.
Mess.
Yeah, a couple of Star Destroyers. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. My next one is a bit of a change of pace. This is a little bit more of a personal one.
Mm-hmm.
For me, one of the ways that Star Wars gives hope is celebration, Star Wars celebration, and friendship.
Oh,
because of Star Wars, I've met a lot of wonderful people over the years. I've been able to go to a lot of great places, do a lot of cool things, have some great experiences. But at the end of the day, all those things are enhanced because of the people I've made and the friendships that I have formed over the years. A lot of it started as celebration. A lot of it just started through the show. I mean, you were actually a perfect example of this. You and I met at the Solo premiere a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We became fast friends, and I feel like you're like a brother to me, honestly. And it's just how exciting and how hope-filled that this movie about laser swords and Darth Vaders and Wookiees and all this kind of stuff can show us, can bring people from around the world to become friends that are like family. And that is so hopeful to me because I know when the next celebration comes, there's going to be so many hugs, so many tears, so many handshakes, so many wonderful moments that we've been storing up and waiting to have. And it's because Star Wars brought us all together. I mean, it opens the door, but then we get to meet one another and have these connections. And I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm grateful for you, sir.
Well, I'm grateful that you finally decided to drop the restraining order. That was helpful.
Restraining bolts. Come on.
The restraining bolts. Yeah, exactly. But you're absolutely right about what I find. Yes, celebration. Yes, absolutely. Totally agree with everything you said there. But also this community of like-minded people that you find on, for me anyway, it's mostly on Star Wars Twitter. These are many of these folks I have met at Celebration, but many I have not met at Celebration. I just know them from Twitter, but I feel like if they walked into the room 5 minutes from now, we would, know each other as well as any pair of friends. Mm-hmm. And that is a unique thing that I am completely grateful for. That just happens. Star Wars happens to be one of those things that people can just coalesce around, mostly in a positive fashion. There's obviously examples of toxicity in the fandom, but for the most part, it is a really great community. And both online and Celebration. I mean, nothing compares to Celebration and everybody getting together. So yeah, that's a good one. Love that.
Yeah. All right. I mean, when I was thinking about that list too, like as much fun as you and I had at the opening of Galaxy's Edge, we had a great time at Celebration in Chicago. Got to meet some of my family and of course Corey and Tom. But you and I had the best time at Celebration. I mean at the opening of Batuu in Disneyland. It's just great stuff.
Yeah, that was great. It's so so many familiar, friendly faces, all sort of circulating around this great thing that we love. Mm-hmm. And there was just some really neat people and once in a lifetime kind of experiences. And that was a good time. I love those times when you could actually see somebody in person.
Yeah, it's great. That's great.
I've forgotten what it's like.
All right, your last one.
All right, I'm going to go with, I'm going to bounce back to Rogue One. And of course, I love Jyn Erso's line, rebellions are built on hope. Of course, Cassian says it too, but Jyn sort of repeats it for the crowd later on when she's trying to convince them to join the fight. And that line, I always think of that line and as being sort of a thing that we all kind of have to remember and apply to our own lives, but also on a sort of extension of that, I love the end of the film, obviously, where they hand the plans over to Princess Leia and she's asked, "What did they bring us?" And it's the last line of the movie, hope. Those two expressions of hope are so well done and timed so well in that film that they top my list as sort of the moments that remind us why we fight to do the right thing.
I love that. Yeah, and remember, wasn't it so uncanny when that came out right after Debbie Reynolds had passed away?
Mm-hmm.
And then with Carrie too, and then you see that at the end, it amplifies everything. It really does.
It amplified everything. It really did, and that thought, that last thing that you hear in that film, and then if you by extension just think of the way Star Wars opens and the rest of that film, it changed the context of that film in a lot of ways for the better. But that theme of hope was running throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, my last one. How does Star Wars inspire hope in us? For me, I put being a kid. Just being a kid. I mean, think about when you watch Alex or when I watch Mason, when we watch them experience Star Wars, it brings me back to when I was a kid and seeing this movie and seeing these figures and playing these video games or whatever I was doing that was incorporating Star Wars into my life. It just gave me hope of a better tomorrow, of fun memories, of a wonderful, healthy escape, of making connections with your friends. Hey, did you see that new figure? Oh my gosh, did you go to Toys R Us and see they have a new Luke Skywalker? And he's wearing all black and he's got a green lightsaber. What is this? All these great memories that I had as a kid. We're all very nostalgic people, especially when you're a Star Wars fan. And I feel like a lot of that is because of the memories that Star Wars gave us when we were kids. And we were growing up with this franchise as it was evolving, and it was so new and exciting. And there's just so many hope-filled moments and memories. And one of the reasons why I think I always related so much to Luke is I like that optimism of what was happening and what was to come. It's very similar to what I have for the first one, but this is really more focused on not only being a kid, but being a father of three boys and how they like Star Wars in different ways. And, now that Peyton is, of course, much older, but when he was a little kid, how much he liked the Phantom Menace and Parker too. And now they're like, oh yeah, okay, that's fine. Because they're older. But for Mason, it's just sort of like, this is a way of life for him. At school, when he gets silent reading, the teacher has a whole bunch of books naturally for him. He's in second grade. But she bought a copy of the Star Wars book for him for the class, and she let him sign it, which just makes me so happy. It just meant the world. Yeah, thanks. It just meant the world to him. So every day he'll come home and he'll tell me about different things in a Star Wars book, and he'll tell me these things. Like he read the book, and I don't know what the heck's going on, which makes me kind of happy because I just think it's funny. He's just very authoritative about what he knows about Daddy. It's in the Star Wars book. All right, well, it's got to be true then. I mean, you don't argue with those authors.
That's right. You can't can't argue.
No, it's just fun. Being a kid in Star Wars to me is all about hope. That's my top one.
I think that is the top one of top ones. I mean, that is something that is so true, and that I was 4 when I first saw Star Wars, and so it just impressed. It just attached to my DNA really, and became. For I think both you and I, it just became so much about who we are and sort of our outlook on the world. And I think that there are a lot of folks who claim to be fans, and I'm sure there are, but they have forgotten this. They have forgotten this idea that this was meant for kids. This was meant to inspire people. This was meant to be fun. And so it's sort of discouraging to see where some people have taken it lately. So I think that's you can't beat that one, Dan. I think that's a great one because it does. It absolutely takes me back to being a kid. In fact, I found a picture the other day with me and my grandmother. It had to be around Christmas time because you can kind of see part of the tree in the side of the photo. It's an old Polaroid, and I'm standing there wearing like the old vinyl Darth Vader mask with the like flashlight, lightsaber thing. And it just was like, God, those were just the best memories. And I remember, there's a million memories about being a kid, and playing Star Wars. And so I just think that's something that a lot of people sometimes forget, unfortunately. And I wish they'd remember it.
You know what?
So they better be listening to your show.
Amen to that. Let's have you on the next time, and we'll just talk about our favorite moments as kids with Star Wars. I mean, there's just so many great things. We all have so many fun memories of them. In '97, when the special edition came out, I remember waiting for hours to see A New Hope, like so many of us did. And I remember walking into the theater for the first time, and everybody was cheering, which you don't often hear at a movie theater.
Right.
And I remember one of the people working at the concession stand, she said to her friend, "Oh my gosh, it's just a movie, people." And I laughed at that. It didn't bother me. I didn't even find it abrasive. I just thought, you just don't get it. You just don't get it. But that doesn't mean you can't or you won't. But for us, like you just so beautifully said, it just became part of our DNA because of when we saw it, how we saw it, and what it meant to us and our families. And that's why we keep coming back for more over and over again.
That's right. Yeah, we'll be coming back. And when those special editions came out, that was such a big deal because it had been like 15 years since Star Wars had been in any sort of theater in any sort of big way. And here they all came back with the special editions. And that was sort of the early, I always talk about 2015 kind of being really my reintroduction big time into the fandom. But that 97, the special editions we went and saw at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood. And I remember walking up and seeing all of these people dressed up as stormtroopers and in different costumes. And it was just this magical, it was sort of this reintroduction to this magical fandom that this can be.
Oh, no, there's absolutely nothing like it. It's so much fun.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is
As we near the end of the show today, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a cup of coffee with me and for helping to spread the word about our Star Wars family we've got here at Coffee with Kenobi. Be sure to tune in Monday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live at www.coffeewithkenobi.com/live or www.facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi and have a cup of coffee, tea, or any beverage of your choosing with me as we continue the conversation. To join us in the CWK Cafe, which is our Facebook group, and share your Star Wars thoughts, comments, reviews, and opinions in a family-friendly, spoiler-free place that is also drama-free, go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/community and be part of the conversation, talk about this week's show, or just talk about some Star Wars. We have a lot of fun, and you'll make some new friends, as well as catch up with longtime friends along the way. I also want to thank all of the new and longtime members of the CWK Alliance and let you know how much I appreciate your help and encouragement. If you want to join the CWK Alliance, go to www.cwkalliance.com and sign up today. Not only will you help out Coffee with Kenobi, but you also get access to CWK Pour-Over, the exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else. It's a great way to support and help out the show, and 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital to support the incredibly important work they are doing to help these brave children and their families. Plus, contributors at the CWK All-Star level can watch a video podcast of CWK Pour-Over hosted by me, Tom Gross, and Corey Clubb. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions. In addition to being part of the community on Facebook, please don't forget to visit our website at www.coffeewithkenobi.com for Star Wars news, announcements, reviews, videos, and so much more. If you have a question for me or just want to share your thoughts on the air, feel free to email me at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com and I'll share them on the show. You can also connect with me on Twitter at Mr. Zaire, MRZEHR, or on Instagram at DanZareCWK. There are also a lot more ways to connect with me and Coffee with Kenobi on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/Coffee with Kenobi. Check us out on Pinterest or subscribe to our Coffee with Kenobi YouTube channel. On our YouTube channel, you can find Facebook Live video, different interviews throughout the years, highlights of video coverage throughout the Coffee with Kenobi history, and the audio podcast itself. You can order my book, The Star Wars Book, which I co-wrote with Lucasfilm's Pablo Hidalgo and Cole Horton, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Books A Million, Walmart, or anywhere books are sold. You can also find my writing on Coffee with Kenobi's website, as well as StarWars.com, where I am an official blogger there, and on IGN, where I contribute occasionally to articles about Star Wars, as well as other popular culture topics. If you are considering starting a podcast or a blog, let me know how I can help you get started and make your creative vision a reality. Be sure to check out danzmedia.com and we can get the process started. I am also available to come to your school, conference, business, or organization to talk about how to tap into your strengths and help you bring out your very best. I want to inspire you to be inspired so you can take that first step into a larger world. Thanks as always to our Coffee with Kenobi sponsors, especially MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, our travel partner and your one-stop shop for all things Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Lines, or anywhere on the planet you want to go on your vacation. Please go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel to book your magical vacation and help support Coffee with Kenobi in the process. If you like the show, please tweet out that you're listening, share it on Facebook, or invite your friends and family to tune in and share a cup of coffee with us. And if the Force is especially with you, please take a couple of minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Google Podcasts. Every review makes a huge difference and helps to spread the word, and I can't thank you enough for your help, for your support, and your friendship. I love so much being a part of this wonderful Star Wars community, and I can't thank you enough for all that you do for me and Coffee with Kenobi. Well, Clayton, thank you so much for sharing with us some of your memories and sharing with us how Star Wars inspires hope. If people want to continue the conversation with you or just say hello, where can they reach out to you?
Reach out to me on Twitter. I am at Clayton_Sandell. And also on Instagram. Try to do better posting more photos there, but Twitter's usually the best place to grab me.
Well, thanks again, buddy. And thank you, everybody, for checking us out here on Coffee with Kenobi, both on the regular podcast, which is released every Thursday, or certainly on Facebook Live, which you can catch on 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday nights, or later on the replay on our YouTube channel, on Facebook, or on Instagram TV. And naturally, you can hear the audio feed right here on the Coffee with Kenobi podcast feed. Last week, we talked about our top 5 favorite Star Wars collectibles, and then everybody chimed in on the CWK Cafe, which is our Facebook group, and shared those pictures of their collections. So that is really cool. What a unique way to celebrate and share your Star Wars fandom here on this wonderful community I'm so thrilled to be a part of. Next week, we're going to come up with our top 5 favorite Star Wars video games. So get that list ready and be sure to join us either again on the live feed at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time at www.coffeewithkenobi.com/live or anywhere you listen to podcasts, because you will find us there. Have a great weekend, everybody. And remember, this is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. The aces of the New Republic have one final chance to defeat the darkness of Shadow Wing in Victory's Price by Alexander Freed, the thrilling conclusion to the Star Wars Alphabet Squadron trilogy. Available now wherever audiobooks are sold.